Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another Stocktwits Executive Interview. I am here with Dr. Alan Baratz, the CEO of DWave Quantum. That's ticker QBTS. Dr. Baratz, how have you been? How's it going?
I've been great, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today.
It's great to have you here because the conversations around quantum are very exciting right now. We've got a lot of people very passionate about what you're building, and I really want to get into how DWave fits into this landscape specifically. So for those who aren't familiar, what is DWave Quantum and what is your mission as a business?
So at DWave, we are a leader in the development and delivery of quantum computers, quantum software, and quantum services. We're focused on helping businesses, governments, and academic institutions around the world to realize the value of quantum today, not 5 years or 10 years into the future, but today. We're already addressing applications like workforce scheduling or last mile routing or manufacturing optimization or materials discovery, even blockchain and AI. Some of these applications are already in production. We have customers using them today as a part of their business operations, and others of them are in development. But the point is, at DWave, we are the first commercial quantum computing company with customers using our systems today as a part of their business operations.
That's great to hear those examples. I think a lot of the conversations around quantum are how far out can we use this? How far out is this commercialized? So DWave uses an approach called quantum annealing, which I know is differentiated from a different approach that's known as gate. We're not going to get super technical here, but I want to make sure our audience understands what the differences are between those two approaches. Can you break them down for us?
Sure. So these two different approaches to quantum computing are each good at solving different classes of problems. Annealing quantum computing is very good at solving business optimization problems, things like workforce scheduling or last mile routing. Frankly, most of the important hard problems that businesses need to solve are optimization problems. Now, annealing quantum computers are good at other things like AI and crypto, but they cannot solve differential equations problems. So we can't solve, for example, quantum chemistry problems or computational fluid dynamics problems with annealing quantum computers. Gate model quantum computers, on the other hand, are very good at solving differential equations problems. So they're great at quantum chemistry and molecular discovery. They're also good at AI and they're good at crypto, but they cannot deliver a speed up on optimization problems. So you will always need both annealing and gate systems. You will need annealing for optimization. You will need gate for differential equations. And then other problems can be addressed by either of the two approaches to quantum computing. With respect to the underlying technologies, frankly, annealing is just a much simpler technology to work with. It's much easier to scale. And that's why we are at 5,000 qubits today when all the gate model systems are at tens to a few hundred qubits. And it's much less sensitive to errors. We're able to deliver good, if not optimal solutions today without the need for error correction. Gate model, on the other hand, is very sensitive to errors. They will not be able to solve useful commercial problems before they achieve error correction. And we're still quite a few years away from that. Minimum 5 to 10 years away from error correction on gate model systems.
Interesting. And so also with the annealing, let's talk through sort of the long-term plan for this. Do you plan to eventually expand into gate as an approach, or are you solely focused on annealing and plan to stick in that lane?
So we will continue to enhance our annealing quantum computers. We just announced the general availability of our Advantage 2 processor, which is actually our 6th generation quantum computer, and we will continue to enhance our annealing quantum systems. However, we are also developing a gate model quantum computer, and we are doing that because many of our customers have use cases that require both annealing and gate. Think, for example, about a pharmaceutical company that's developing a new drug. They need to put it through trials. They need to manufacture it and move it into the market. Well, the quantum chemistry up front in the drug design requires a gate model quantum computing. But optimizing the trials and the manufacturing process, that would require an annealing quantum computer. So by bringing both annealing and gate to market, we are able to support the full set of use cases for our customers.
Got it. And our listeners love to talk about moats when they assess companies. And I'm curious, the annealing angle, would you call that a moat? And if so, why is how you're building that or what you're doing there differentiated from maybe some of the other quantum companies out there that are building alongside you?
So we were the first company in the world to start building a quantum computer. We started over 15 years ago, and we did start with our annealing technology, developing our annealing quantum computer. And over the course of those 15 years, we've developed an enormous amount of intellectual property. We have over 250 US granted patents, over 500 granted and in process worldwide. So that does represent a pretty substantial patent moat around annealing quantum computing. Others may try to pursue that technology, but frankly, we've got a 15-year head start. We're not standing still. We're continuing to evolve the technology. And then we've got that massive intellectual property moat.
Let's talk about some recent headlines you guys made in demonstrating quantum computing supremacy on a say it again. Recently, you made some headlines demonstrating quantum computing supremacy on a real world problem. So basically, your computer solved a problem that a top classical supercomputer could not. Walk us through how this works. This sounds fascinating. It sounds like we're at the precipice of something big as a society, but what did you all unlock with this test or experiment?
Yeah. So the problem that we worked on was computing properties of magnetic materials. And these computations are very challenging for classical computers. But we've been able to perform these computations on our quantum computer in just minutes. On top of that, the power, electricity required to perform this computation on our annealing quantum computers was about 12 kilowatts. If you were to try to perform the computation classically, it would take well over global annual energy consumption. So here we are, able to solve problems on our quantum computers that cannot be solved classically, full stop. This is what everybody in the quantum industry has been aspiring to, and we're the first to actually have achieved it.
And when you talk about the energy difference, that sounds huge, astronomical even. Is that the reason why the system you've built was able to solve the problem because it was so efficient, or is that purely a byproduct of the methodology that you took, where it just so happens that it takes less energy to do?
Yeah, it's actually the flip. We're so energy efficient because we're able to solve the problem so fast. But there's one other element to it, and that is that our quantum computers use what's called superconducting technology. That means that our processors run at very cold temperatures, but as a result, they consume no power. So the processor actually is not consuming electricity. It's the refrigerator that the processor chip lives in that's consuming the power. And that's what consumes about 12 kilowatts. That also means that as we build larger and more powerful processing chips, the power consumption will not go up because the refrigerator stays the same. We're just putting new, more powerful chips into that refrigerator.
Got it. And while we're talking about energy, obviously a lot of news around AI and the demands that AI will have regarding energy. And I'm curious how sort of your world intersects with that. It sounds like you have some solutions in progress in the works that could get to problem solving a little more efficiently. How should investors think about when they're looking at AI and they're believing in AI as something that's going to continue to just proliferate? How should they think about a quantum player like you and where you fit into that trend?
Yeah. So we think there are two areas of synergy between quantum and AI. The first is that you can use the two technologies together to solve problems, letting each focus on what it's best at. For example, you might use AI to predict future product demand, and then you would use quantum computing to optimize the supply chain to meet that demand. So here, each of those two technologies is being used to address a particular use case, with each focused on the part of the problem that it is best at addressing. So that's one way in which I believe that AI and quantum will come together. The second is that we've actually been doing some work on how you might insert the quantum computer into the AI model training workflow. Now, what's the biggest issue with training AI models? It's the amount of compute and electricity required to train those models. That's why we have big tech companies out talking about building nuclear power plants. Well, if you insert quantum into the model training workflow, we've seen some evidence that we may be able to train models faster and with much lower electricity consumption. We're already seeing some early results in this arena on relatively small data sets, and now we're moving to pursue this on much larger data sets. So we believe this is a very promising area for bringing quantum computing together with AI, but there's still some more work that we have to do to fully prove it out.
Got it. So it sounds like a hypothesis you're testing is that as these hyperscalers are investing in nuclear facilities, I just saw, I think Google bought something that was pre-market, might not have been Google. As they're doing that, it could be the case, if your testing comes to fruition, that there could be a dual strategy of both investing in the nuclear infrastructure and investing in quantum as a way to bring the energy down while still owning some of that power grid. Am I following that correctly?
If we're as successful as we think we might be in inserting quantum into the AI workflow, you may not need the nuclear power plant, because we may be able to support training models with significantly lower electricity consumption, not requiring that massive power grid.
Got it. And what you would need to prove to these companies, essentially just like a larger data set showing that there's proof to this, and that would potentially unlock some additional opportunities for you guys.
Yeah, we're essentially working on the proof point that this is possible.
Yep. Got it. I have written down here that you guys have over 100 customers today, which is fascinating. I've been following a lot of the quantum debate, and a lot of the naysayers are saying it's not commercialized yet. No one's buying this. Give us some examples of people who are actually buying DWave and how they're using it.
Yeah, not just buying it, but using it as part of their business operations today. So NTT Docomo is the largest cellular carrier in Japan. They are using us today to optimize cell tower resources. Leveraging us, they found that they can support up to 15% more cell phones per tower, which means lower infrastructure costs, which delivers a good ROI on the use of our system. By the way, in addition to the business benefits, what they found is that by using our system to optimize these resources, a computation that used to take them over 25 hours is now taking them less than a minute. A second example is Ford Otosan. This is a joint venture of Ford Motor Company and Koç Holdings in Turkey. Ford Otosan manufactures the Ford Transit line of vehicles. These are multi-passenger vehicles. And what they are using us for today is to optimize how they order the assembly of automotive bodies. And once again, they found that by leveraging our systems, they can significantly reduce the time to perform this computation to optimize how they manufacture the vehicles.
And at a high level, just so our listeners, because there's different go-to-markets for different types of products, it sounds like in a innovative space like yours, the go-to-market looks like you start small with a piece of a business, a piece of a company. You show proof of concept and you grow from there. Is that sort of how you're thinking about some of these partnerships you have, where you're starting with one area or one unit within the business, and it's a land and expand play?
Yeah, very much so. So first of all, when we first engage with a customer, we engage them with a professional services engagement. Basically, working with them to help them understand which of their applications can most benefit from quantum, and then helping to develop a proof of concept for one or more of those applications that they can then benchmark to determine if there's a good ROI on that application. And if so, we then, through our professional services team, can also help them move that application into a trial deployment and ultimately full production deployment. Once they move into production, then it transitions to what we call quantum compute as a service. This is where the customer is paying us on a recurring revenue basis to access our quantum computers in support of their application. So we start with a professional services engagement and then ultimately transition to quantum compute as a service as their application moves into production. Typically, once a first application moves into production, we see a customer starting to look at maybe a second application that they might want to leverage quantum in order to improve their business operations. So it is very much a land and expand type of model.
Got it. A classic walk, crawl, run that is necessary when you're introducing new technologies. I want to wrap up by looking ahead. So you guys posted a huge jump in Q1 2025 revenue, up over 500% year over year, record gross margins, a lot of wind at your back. What's driving that momentum, and what do you have planned, either partnership-wise, product-wise, in the back half of the year that you think can sustain that momentum for you all?
Yep. So first of all, we are continuing to grow our quantum compute as a service commercial application business. This is working with commercial customers to help them build and deploy applications that leverage our quantum systems. But part of the reason why we had a significant increase in revenue in Q1 was that this was the first time we had also sold a quantum computer. Up until now, it's been all about quantum compute as a service, accessing our systems through our quantum cloud service. But in Q1, we delivered for the first time a quantum computer to a customer who had purchased that system. And that resulted in significant revenue recognition for the sale of that quantum computer. Going forward, we will be supporting both of those business models. For customers that simply care about running an application in support of their business, quantum compute as a service is the best model because they buy just what they need to run the application. For customers like supercomputing centers or government labs that want to do deeper investigations with the quantum computer, maybe control more of the operating parameters of the quantum computer, they would need to own their own system. So they would purchase a system. And these two models are very complementary. Different customer sets, different use cases, different revenue recognition. In the case of quantum compute as a service, we recognize revenue ratably over time. So it takes time to build up that base of revenue. For system sales, revenue recognition upfront, much larger near-term revenue.
So quick follow-up, I'm sure a lot of this partnership information is proprietary to protect competitive advantages that of your partners, but can you characterize or give us any insight into the types of companies, or perhaps the type of company that would buy the fully loaded quantum computer from you all?
Yep. So our first sale was to the Jülich Supercomputing Center in Germany. So this was to a supercomputing center They have Europe's first and frankly only classical exascale supercomputer. It's a massively parallel GPU system, 25,000 GPUs. And they are planning to integrate our quantum computer with that exascale classical supercomputer to basically explore a variety of different applications, including new AI workloads.
Interesting. Well, this is all fascinating stuff. Dr. Alan Baratz, thank you for stopping by. Of course, you are the CEO of DWave Quantum. That's QBTS. Thanks so much for coming on. You'll have to stop by when you have some more updates for us.
My pleasure. Thank you for the time.